In this video, I'm going to show you how a 2200 chess player beats typical chess amateurs, what the typical mistakes most chess players are making, and how you can capitalize on them so you can beat 90% of chess players out there. Anyway, let's dive in. All right, in this first game, I played a 1,000 rated player, and actually he's closer to 1,100. And he plays the Scandinavian defense, and we'll just breeze through this right now because it's not an opening chess lesson. But anyway, here he made just a very big mistake, a very common mistake that lower-rated players make. He just hung a piece, basically. So he's going for this pinned knight. I break the pin, which is what I should do, and now he should realize that this knight is not defended anymore, and how I can actually take it because I broke the pin, and he didn't see that. He made a mistake. He's probably better than that, but he made the blunder. Now, I normally wouldn't show you a game like this, but I want to show you what happened afterwards because we can still learn from this game after the fact that my opponent made a silly mistake here. All right, so now I'm just trading down as much as I can. I can obviously take the rook here if I want to, which I did. And now I just castle. So I castle a safety, and here's why I kept this game in the video. Because after he attacks my queen, I want to trade down material. So if I want to trade down material, if I avoid the trade, if I move my queen out of the way, I'm not really trading down material, which is fine. But here I actually decided to just take the bishop because for a couple of reasons. First, I'm trading down. So now he takes my queen, but I take his rook. So I got a bishop and a rook for a queen, which is about the same, almost. And also I have an open lane for my rook, so I can put pressure on him. And I'm trading down because I'm up a whole piece anyway, so now I'm like trading down. It's probably not what I would play in a tournament, but I definitely wouldn't play it in a tournament, but I just wanted to see what he would do. So anyway, I take this pawn on a7, and now my knight's attacked, so I move my knight. And now, again, another main reason why I want to show this game is because I'll fast forward a little bit. We trade down material even more. So now my opponent has a queen, and I have two rooks and a bishop. Now I'm up material. But I just want to show you, demonstrate to you guys how vulnerable a queen is by itself. A queen by itself, if you have a safe king, really doesn't do much, especially if all your other pieces, if everything is protected in the position, the queen, since it's only one piece, cannot pile up on anything. So as long as everything's protected and your king is safe, the queen is totally useless. I'm going to show you what I mean. The queen attacks my rook, I move my rook away. Attacks my rook again, I just protect my rooks. Now, my rooks are protecting each other. My bishop is protecting my pawn, and my pawn is protecting my bishop. So that's good. So everything's protected. I give air for my king, so no back rank mates. And now I'm all protected. So I can give him 50 moves in a row. His queen cannot do anything to my position. It cannot take anything. It cannot do anything. And I know I'm up a piece anyway, but just this position is kind of like a bit of it really just drives the point home that the queen really has no power by itself if everything is protected in your position. So I wanted this rook here, actually, where it hits the queen and this pawn. So I found a nice little tactic here. I played rook a6. He cannot take because of the pin, and my next move is going to be to come here. So he threw in a check. I moved out of the way. Again, if he throws in this check, I just play g3, and this pawn is protected by the bishop. So he can't take, and I'm totally safe now. I could just stay like in this position forever and give him 100 moves, and I'll still win the game. Okay, so my opponent actually came back. I played the aforementioned rook b6, hitting the queen and the pawn. And after the queen moves, now we just have checkmate. After the king moves, I'm just going to back rank mate or ladder mate my opponent, and that's the game. All right, let's move on to the next one. My opponent is about almost 700 here, and I play the Sicilian. Okay, so my opponent takes here, takes the knight, and you really shouldn't trade bishops for knights, so that's his kind of first mistake there. Also, I call this like the Tetris pawn formation because it's like an L shape, like a Tetris piece. And this is actually very good for my position because they'll say double pawns are bad. I'm not sure who they is, the people who wrote chess books or whoever. But double isolated in the middle game, yeah, I'm sorry, in the end game, sure. But right now, this is actually good. This controls the center. If it stops him from playing this move, or at least I could take the pawn and undouble my pawns. And actually, you'll see like in the game. So he plays this. I could take an unravel my double pawns, or I can just play this what I played and allow him to take and unravel my pawns for me and develop my bishop at the same time, which is what happened. So now my development's good, and I have the bishop pair, so I have an advantage over him, basically by doing nothing, just by playing normal chess moves. He gave the advantage to me. Okay, so he plays b3. I develop my bishop now and attack the rook. So what should he do here? There's only one way to stop this, which is c4. He plays it. I take. He takes. I take. And now his rook is trapped. He's going to have to give up the exchange sacrifice. He's going to have to give up the exchange, I mean. So he has to develop a piece here and do something and just, just be at peace with the fact that he's going to give up material. But instead he just moves the rook, which doesn't do anything because I'm attacking f2. So now I take f2 anyway, so I get a pawn, and I take the rook. So I still get the rook. And now after this I castle, and again he attacks my bishop. I just move it to safety. And after rook b8, I mean, this game is pretty much toast, but he played on a little bit. He didn't take back my bishop for some reason, so I just won another piece. And now I'll just show you how I finished the game. I went to trade queens. He should not accept this, but he does. And now I immediately have pressure on. He shouldn't accept it because he's down material, basically. But now I also have pressure here. The only way to stop it is to play rook g1. And now I just add my knight to the game, and my opponent resigned because there's nothing he can do to stop the onslaught here, and he's already down a lot of material. Okay, the 1700. Okay, this is amateur hour. This is amateur chess, but a 1700 is, technically an amateur, but by no means a beginner. 1700 could be a very formidable chess player. And actually, ironically, though, this is the quickest game of the video. So my opponent plays the Caro-Kann, and I've showed this in a video before. I've showed this in a couple of shorts, and I have a long-form content where I have 10 chess traps. I will put that. I'll link that in the video above or below or wherever. And this is a known chess trap. So if they play d7, which is a reasonable opening, I go for bishop c4, and I'm going for f7. After knight f6, I attack the aforementioned f7. And when he blocks, I play queen e2. Now, the best move is to play knight b6. That's pretty much, the only move or best move. And it unleashes a defense on this e6 square and attacks my bishop. So I'll just come back here. A lot of players play this, which is immediately game over. And my opponent played this, which is the same thing. It's knight takes f7, and it's game over. I'm forking the queen and rook, and black took here because he didn't want to lose material, but now I just have check. If black comes back to either of these two squares, it's mate on the spot, so he comes forward, but now check. Only move is to come to the h-file, and now we have check mate. So my opponent just didn't know an opening trap there, and I was surprised because he's over 1700, but there's a lot to know in chess, so always be prepared. Try to out-prepare your opponents and never assume that they know everything. Okay, in this game I'm playing a 1400, and we have the Italian game, very slow, boring position. And now, I shouldn't say boring because it's actually my favorite opening. But here we have knight d5, putting pressure on the pin piece, so I just take. And now I just move out of the way of the pin. Now, you might be wondering why I'm allowing him to double my pawns, but I'm actually more concerned about this knight, doubling the pawns here, because I want to castle queenside here. So, and this pin's a lot harder to deal with than this pin. Not really a pin, but this pin's tough to deal with. So I'm just going to step out of the pin altogether. And now the point is, after he takes, I have an open lane of attack against possibly my opponent's king if my opponent castles kingside, which I don't think my opponent should, but he did. So now I just castle queenside, and I'm not sure about knight d2. He probably wants to play f4 at some point. He can't right away due to the pin, but now I just have a good attack on my opponent, or a potential attack at least, and my opponent really doesn't have as much in return. So he kind of just gave me an open lane of attack to his king by taking that, so taking on f6. Okay, so I just pushed the pawn. And my opponent, I should say, though, is actually fine here. He's not losing by any means. But, again, he just gave me a easy position to play. Okay, so now the light squares are weak, and I just jumped to d4, and I'm just preparing, to infiltrate with the knight at some point later on in the game. My opponent takes. I don't want to trade queens because I'm the one going for the attack, so I move out of the way. My opponent tries to kick my knight out, but I just go to attack the queen. Now, why did I do that? Well, first of all, the queen's a bigger piece than the knight, so if he takes me, I'll take the queen. And the only square the queen can go to is e7, and the point now is I would throw in this check. If the king just moves out of the way, I would win a knight, which is good for me. And if the knight takes, I would take here, and how do you stop checkmate? The only thing I could see here to stop checkmate would be bishop check. I move out of the way and then take, but that doesn't look good at all because, I have this. And also, I think I might play this, just hitting the bishop, and, what do you do here for white? It's very tough. So, actually, after this move, my opponent took the knight, I took the queen. So he didn't like that whole variation, so he just sacrificed material. And then I wedged my rook into f3. Now, why did I do that? Well, yes, the rook's bigger than the knight, but if he takes me, there's no way he's stopping checkmate, so it's untouchable. And also, it blockades his pawn, so he can never gain space. So it just wedged into his position. He throws in a check, but he really can't follow up with it. I actually like this move on his part because it defends the pawn, and he could start trying to attack at least. Not that it's going to go anywhere, but he can try. He really had to keep the knight there. He really should have probably just started pushing and just chilled out. But it's really hard to play defense in chess. A lot of players kind of freak out when they're being pressured. He moved the knight, and at this point now it's mate in 6. The knight needed to stay back here to defend the king, and now I just take here. And the point is, my opponent resigned here, but the point is, if he takes, I throw in this check. If the knight was here, again, the knight could drop back, but now since the knight's not there, the only thing white can do is bring the rook back, which is checkmate. So my opponent put up a decent fight there, but did make a few mistakes, which cost him in the end. All right, for our final game, we have a game against the 800 player. And again, we have an Italian game, or similar to an Italian game. And my opponent is playing pretty good so far. So he's developing his pieces at least and castling, which is very good. Here I played rook b1, making the bishop honest. If the bishop comes out, I could take, potentially, which is what happened. I didn't want to take now because I didn't like this pin. I didn't want him piling up on the pin. So I went to kick the bishop out. He played bishop h5. I came to g4 to break the pin. And now he should simply go bishop g6. I would have came here at this point to move the queen and then brought the knight over and started to formulate a kingside attack here. Unfortunately, my opponent just took here. He couldn't help himself. He liked breaking open my kingside. However, it's not worth the material. And black is not really developed well enough to capitalize on some type of attack yet. So black came to h8, I'm assuming to get out of this pin because he wants to play f5 or f6. For that reason, I played bishop g5. I want my bishop on e3, actually, but I played this first to attack his queen and induce him to play f6. So now his light squares are weak, and there's potential mating patterns when the light squares are weak like this with the bishop on this diagonal. So now I just set up like potential mating patterns in the future. Now I drop back to bishop e3. After he takes, again, my pawns are together, a nice little Tetris formation again, and my rook's on an open file, so this is all good for me. My opponent goes and tries to open up files, which he should be doing, which is good, but he's just down a whole piece now, and there's nothing really he can do. So he tries to, he has a Yakin's gun here. He's tripling up on the F file, which looks good, but I just dropped back my knight, which actually forces him to speed up his own attack. So I'm asking him what he's going to do. I'm not letting him build up. And now he moves the queen away, but I just trade, and then I offer another trade. Again, he can't pin my queen to the king because it's checkmate. So here he just takes. I take back with the knight in order to defend my pawn. And now he goes for a queen trade, which is the opposite of what he should be doing because he's down material. He should keep the queens on the board. But he traded and gave himself double pawns in the endgame. These double pawns that are isolated and in the endgame are bad. So that's not good to have. And now my opponent resigned after a couple of moves because he doesn't have enough material to play out the game. Well, there you have it. If you like that video, check out this video. It's also very helpful. And make sure you subscribe if you do like the content so you don't miss out on future content coming out there. Now get out of here. Go play some chess.